settled on one that appears to be moving fairly quickly. However, without fail, as soon as you join it, the line seems to slow to a crawl, while the others are moving briskly forward. This frustration is common, but is it genuinely the case that we always end up in the slowest line? Or is this merely a cognitive distortion? A fundamental explanation for this experience lies in a psychological concept known as loss aversion. This principle suggests that losses loom larger than gains in our perception. Simply put, the pain of being stuck in a slow line, a perceived loss, is more intense than the pleasure of being in a fast-moving one, a gain. And it's understandable why. You're just standing in a line. How can that be exceedingly pleasurable to anyone? When we're ensnared in a slow line, the negative experience becomes magnified. Each passing minute feels disproportionately long, and frustration begins to mount. This negative experience is memorable and shapes our overall perception. Conversely, when we find ourselves in a fast-moving line, the positive experience is fleeting. We may feel some brief sense of satisfaction, but it quickly dissipates as we move on to other things. Our brains are wired to hold on to negative experiences more tenaciously than they are positive ones. Furthermore, losses and gains don't register with equal frequency in our minds. Because we're more attuned to losses, we notice them more frequently. This cognitive bias means that instances of being in a slow line are more memorable and seem more frequent than those times we zip right through. This leads to a distorted perception that we're always in the slowest line. Beyond loss aversion, humans have an inherent tendency to focus on negative experiences more so than positive ones. This phenomenon is known as the negativity bias. It's deeply ingrained in our evolutionary history, where being alert to potential dangers and threats was critical for survival. Today, this bias manifests in various ways, including, yes, even our perception of standing in lines. From an evolutionary standpoint, our ancestors who were more vigilant about negative events like predators or environmental threats were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. This heightened sensitivity to negatives recognize our sensitivity to the perceived slowness of our own line. Understanding these psychological principles can help us to manage our perceptions and reactions in everyday situations. So, here are a few practical steps to mitigate the frustration of feeling like you're always in the slowest line. Practicing mindfulness, something I'm big on, can help you to stay calm and focused in the moment instead of fixating on the perceived slowness of your line. Try to engage in a positive activity while you're waiting, like reading something or listening to music on your phone, maybe. This can shift your attention away from the negative experience and hopefully reduce stress. Cognitive reframing involves changing your perspective on a situation. Recognize that occasional delays are normal and not some personal affront to you. Remind yourself that everyone experiences slow lines from time to time and that it's not a reflection of bad luck or any poor decision making on your part. Conducting a reality check can help you gain a more objective view of the situation. If need be, use a timer or count the minutes to yourself to measure the actual time it takes to move through the line. Oftentimes, our perception of time is distorted by frustration, and this objective measure can provide some clarity. Since media exposure can amplify our negativity bias, consider limiting your consumption of negative news. Focus on positive or neutral content to balance your perspective and reduce the overall negativity in your life. Beyond practical strategies, it's important to understand that we have the power to take control of our perceptions. By being aware of our cognitive biases, we can actively work to counteract them and cultivate a more balanced view of our experiences. Fostering a positive outlook involves making a conscious effort to notice and appreciate positive experiences. This can be as simple as keeping a gratitude journal or taking a couple moments each day to reflect on positive events. Over time, this practice can help counterbalance the natural negativity bias and promote a more positive mindset. Engaging in activities that bring joy and satisfaction can also help shift your focus away from negative experiences. Whether it's pursuing one of your hobbies, spending time with someone you care about, or maybe volunteering, these activities can enhance your well-being and create a sort of buffer against negative perceptions. Building resilience involves developing the ability to adapt to and recover from negative experiences. This can be achieved through practices such as mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and engaging in those positive activities I mentioned. Resilience helps you maintain a balanced perspective and reduces the impact of negative experiences on your overall well-being. So in conclusion, the perception that the line you're in is always the slowest is a fascinating example of how our brains are wired to focus more on negatives than positives. This sensitivity to losses or gains, coupled with the negativity bias, shapes our daily experiences and perceptions. Understanding these psychological principles can help us manage our reactions and lead to a more balanced and less stressful